to Cooking with Glenn and Katie. I cannot believe this is our beginning of our 3rd year. We started cooking together in July of 2018, and here we are, already August of 2020, so already into starting the 3rd year. And today we are going to be making homemade egg drop soup. Now there's a story to this soup. When my sister and I were younger, our dad used to make homemade egg drop soup for us. Glenn, he would make it for us, and we absolutely loved it. And then when our mom got sick with cancer, it was really difficult for her to eat a lot of different foods, but she definitely craved egg drop soup. So my dad would drive all over to different Chinese restaurants trying to find a good egg drop soup for her. And then he realized, oh, I can make it at home. So this recipe was not only a beloved recipe by Betsy and me when we were kids, but also of my mom in one of the most crazy times of her life. And we cannot wait to share this recipe with you. It's one of our family favorites. My nieces and nephews love it as well. And we just had to share it with you today. So the first thing we're going to start with is chopping up some spring onions. I'm going to show you this right here. My dad every year gets about 10 to 12 of these at the store, and he'll cut them off just above the bulb part. He'll cut it off, and then he'll plant this bottom half in his garden. And actually, from that little bulb, you wouldn't believe, grew this and grows more like these. And so this is actually a spring onion from Dad's yard, or Dad's garden. And what he does, whenever they grow nice and tall like this, he'll chop them off, still leaving the bulb in the soil, so that once he's chopped this off, a whole new one can grow out of that same bulb. Spring onions are amazing in egg drop soup, so we're going to chop these up. But one last amazing story. This cutting board that I'm going to use today is not just one that Dad or I had from a store. This was actually made by Dad over 50 years ago when he was in the 8th grade. He made this for his mom in a woodworking class. He actually took 2 different types of wood, as you can see, and he put them together. I'm not a woodworker, so I can't explain everything, but he put the wood pieces together. He hooked it together. He did everything you've got to do to make this amazing, beautiful cutting board. And as you can tell, it is a bit worn, but again, it's over 50 years old. And my grandmother, Granny, has used it since he gave it to her. Just recently, though, my granny said, hey, you can actually have it back now, Glenn, and enjoy it. So my dad is thrilled, and I am so excited today for the very first time to get to use a cutting board that was made by my dad when he was in 8th grade. So let's get started. I'm going to start by cutting the part of the spring onion that's actually going to go in the egg drop soup, and then a little later I'm going to chop up some more of the spring onion for the garnish. But let me show you which part of the spring onion I'm using for each. Now, for actually putting in the egg drop soup, I'm going to chop from here to here, okay? And then when I'm ready to garnish, I'm going to use the green portion up here. So I'm just going to cut it in small pieces. And this is going to cook down and add some excellent flavor. I went ahead and cut up what I wanted to, including the garnish. So this is what I'm going to actually put in the soup now. And these are part of the upper green stems that we're going to use for the garnish later. I'm going to go ahead and add these spring onions to the pot. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right on here. This is the most simple recipe you'll ever have, I feel like. Next, I'm going to add to the onions 2 cups of water. I haven't turned my burner on yet. I'm adding everything in cold. The water that I added was cold water. It has to be cold. It cannot be lukewarm or hot. It needs to be cold water because in addition to the onions, we're actually going to be adding in some bouillon, but more importantly, cornstarch. And cornstarch needs to be added to cold water and blended in before heated so it doesn't clump. So now I'm gonna add the rest, okay? So I have some bouillon, chicken flavored bouillon. You can use better than bouillon, a lot of different types of things. I'm just going to do 2 teaspoons of this chicken bouillon powder. Doesn't have to be exact, but close enough. It's nice and flavorful. I'm just gonna add in this second. And then I'm going to add in 1 heaping tablespoon of the cornstarch. It's a very important ingredient. And the reason that cornstarch, as you can see, this is my heaping tablespoon. The reason cornstarch is important to add is because it's a thickening agent. And that's important for the consistency of the soup. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and whisk everything together while the water's still cold and the burner's off so that everything, as far as the cornstarch and the bouillon, blend together. You can see all of the powdered products, the cornstarch and the bouillon, are starting to blend in. As you can see, the liquid is actually a cream color right now. Once the water gets to boiling or close to boiling, it will actually turn clear. So just keep that in mind, and that's what we want it to do. It's just going to stay cloudy, have this cloudy appearance until it gets near boiling or to boiling. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this on high heat and get it boiling. It's important while you're heating up the soup to just stir it frequently, either with the whisk that you have or a spoon. So that's what I'm gonna be doing till it boils, and then I'll show you the next steps. I'm gonna pause for a minute in the stirring of the soup to do this next step with this next ingredient. The most important ingredient in egg drop soup is indeed the eggs. So, look right down here. Right here I have some eggs, including the ones that I've already cracked, that came from my dad's chickens. They are the cutest little hens. They are fantastic. My dad loves them and takes great care of them, and they produce some excellent eggs. We're thankful to be able to have them. So what I did was I cracked 2 eggs, and now I'm just going to whisk them. A Pyrex measuring cup that has a spout. And now I'm moving from here over to the soup, and it looks like the soup is boiling, and look, it's already starting to get clear. Actually, I'm gonna turn it off. Okay, I've turned the soup off because it got to a boil. Oh my goodness, this looks fantastic. So, I'm gonna go ahead and take my whisk out of my both of my bowls. Okay, now you need to use a spoon for this next part. Again, I cracked the eggs into this Pyrex measuring cup, and I wanted to have one that actually has a spout to it. That's important, okay? And I have my spoon. So now that I've turned my soup off, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and start slowly stirring. And as I stir, I'm gonna start slowly pouring. Whoop. Slow, slow, slow. And as you can see, the eggs are cooking, turning white. As soon as you pour the eggs in here, you can stop stirring and it's done. And voila, just like that, we have homemade egg drop soup. Now it's time to taste test. I'm so excited about this. So we put it in a bowl, we put a little bit of the spring onions on top, but I do have some more to the side if I want to add more. Just gonna start with a little bit to start. Okay. And I've already got some spring onions in here from what we put on the garnish, as the garnish. I'm gonna add a little bit more in here. This looks fantastic. Hopefully you can see that on camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a taste. Wow, that is fantastic. That is just like the best Chinese restaurant egg drop soup you'll ever have. Oh my goodness. And you could add in some of the crispy noodles if you want to give it a little bit of a crunch. But this by itself is so warm and comforting. It is perfect soup. And today I have Dad with me. We're social distancing today, sitting across the table, but I'm gonna have him try what I've made too and see if it's as good as when he makes it. Let me take one more sip. That is fantastic. So let's see what Dad has to say.
Now it's time for me to try it. I know what it tastes like. And I knew that Katie would love it. This is kind of a no-fail recipe. But one thing about Katie, she took all the onions off the top, so I'm gonna have to add some onions, some garnish on here because I love the taste of it. It makes it look pretty too. And now let me taste it. It's good to be able to have a recipe that you know what it's going to taste like before you even taste it. So here we go. It's perfect. So if you want to try a soup that's simple, that most people will love, try to make this soup. It's very good. Thank you for joining us today for Cooking with Glenn and Katie. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. The share is very important. See ya.